Why do people suffer? There's a lot of suffering in the world right now. People are suffering from the ongoing COVID pandemic. A lot of people have lost their jobs. Some people have lost their family. They've lost their homes. Some have lost loved ones. They've lost family members and friends to the pandemic. This pandemic is ongoing. It's gone on longer than people suspected it may. And now we're starting to have war. We had a lot of protests early in the COVID time in the US. People were protesting the restrictions about wearing masks. People were protesting about the race relations and equality. And now in the east, in Russia, we have war starting. We hope and pray it will be a quick and easy resolution. But why? Why, people may ask, things were going so well for me. Why now is everyone in the world suffering so much? And the Ayurveda Shastras talk on this. The Ayurveda Shastras tell us about health. They tell us about longevity. They tell us about disease. And they say there are different causes of disease. And there's environmental factors. And when we have an epidemic or a pandemic, an epidemic affects just some region of the world. A pandemic affects all the world. And we know that there's some collective karmas going on that's influencing this. So we have environmental factors that come together and cause difficulties for humanity, cause a great deal of suffering. And what the Charaka Samhita, the oldest Ayurveda Shastra that there is, says about this is that the cause of the pandemics is misconduct of the people in the past life and the present life. Why do people do this? It comes from what we call prajna paradha. Prajna means wisdom. Wisdom of the true nature of things. True, higher wisdom. Not some intellectual knowledge, but a knowing of the true divine nature of oneself, of everything around. Aparadha means we've forgotten this and we act against this. We act not in accordance with wisdom. And people do this a lot. This is one of the causes of disease in normal conditions, because people don't eat the foods that's good for them. They crave the foods that's bad for them. Ayurveda teaches us that if you have a food craving, you ought not to trust that craving. Maybe in the case of a pregnant woman, the craving is on the account of the unborn child. Maybe she could trust it. Other people, we shouldn't trust these cravings. We start to crave the foods. Once the doshas are out of balance, once our constitution is out of balance, we'll start to crave the foods that further increase that imbalance. This is prajna paradha. Forgetting of the wisdom, going against, acting against wisdom, forgetting of our true nature. So what happens when people do this? People start to identify with limited aspects of who they are. They start to identify with the ego. People will have an attitude like, woe is me. People will have a selfish attitude. People will create an attitude where it's them against the world, their family, their clan against the world. They're good, I'm good, everyone else is bad. And they start to create this notion. It's not a divine notion. God created everything. Everything is good. Everything plays a part in this creation, in this universe. But human mind makes it bad. Human mind makes it good, depending on preferences, depending upon limited vision. So what do we do then? We start to make everything about us. We make it very selfish. If someone says something, we start to understand it as, oh, that person said something bad about me. We start to make ourselves to feel bad by telling ourselves lies in our head that people are saying bad things about me. Usually people are too selfish, too self-centered, too self-absorbed to be thinking that much about you, yet people devise these crazy delusions that the world is against them. That person is an enemy. That person is trying to hurt me. And then that very easily from there, that turns to bigotry. And we say, well, that person is bad. And then it becomes okay for us to do things that are bad to them. We forget this karma. We forget that we try to treat people how we would like to be treated. If you want to be treated with love and respect, you give someone else love and respect. If you don't want to be judged, you don't judge other people around you. But the mind becomes very competitive. The mind becomes very self-centered and very selfish and very egotistical, and this turns into war. If we want to put an end to war in the world, if we want to put an end to the pandemics and different natural disasters, there's been a lot of big storms in recent past also. Tsunamis, hurricanes, earthquakes, this kind of thing. I'm not aware of a volcano erupting, but I don't watch the news very much. I'm not the best informed. I don't look outside for the answers, I look within. If we want to stop the war in the world, we've got to start the war within ourselves. The war against these negative emotions. We can't allow ourselves to go into anger, to go into fear, to go into selfishness, worry, depression, sadness, envy, jealousy, greed. We've got to practice love. We've got to practice altruism, selfless service. This brings peace in the mind. Most of us are responsible for the pandemic and the war in the world because our mind is like a war zone. Our mind is diseased. We're hanging on to a lot of unprocessed thoughts, unprocessed emotions, unprocessed impressions of past experiences. It's like garbage. What do we do when a garbage can becomes full? We take the garbage and we throw it out. But do we do this when the mind becomes so full of these negative mental impressions that we can't even function? No, we try to turn away in some way. We try to turn away looking at the internet, watching a movie, taking some drugs, taking some CBD, taking some cannabis, taking some alcohol. We try to turn away. We take solace in these things because they help us to turn away. We turn away with some new experience. We're always seeking something new. And that's why a lot of people got very upset when they were told, let's stay at home to try to be safe during this pandemic. A lot of people couldn't take that. They said, no, if I have to stay at home, I'm just going to leave. And they left, and a lot of people have started traveling in this time. It doesn't make sense. We're going against wisdom. It's called prajna aparadha. An offense against wisdom. We're going against nature. We have these lights and we stay up late at night. We don't wake up with the sun like the animals do. We don't. And in the winter time when it's cold, now there's a popular trend. People are, they go out in the middle of the snow and they pour ice on themselves on their social media. This is not wise. We should wear a jacket, wear a coat and a scarf and some ear muffs in the cold. We're going against nature with what we eat, the unhealthy foods, with what we do with our time. It's not natural. The foods are not natural, they're chemical. The medicines are not natural, they're chemical. The entertainment's not natural. Where are the people? Our entertainment comes from a social media, from a telephone, from a computer. It's a digital depiction of some entertainment that someone created. We're not connected to them. We can't applaud their efforts. We can't communicate. Where's the communication? People are not communicating, and they're getting more and more closed off from the world. They're not taking this opportunity to go within and to cause peace within. The only way to ease the great difficulties in the world now is to meditate more and to practice peace. If there's any lingering resentments, we have to practice forgiveness. If we're getting upset with people in our lives, we have to look at it as a blessing, showing us our impurity, our fault, showing us nothing about the person that we feel upset with. That you can be clear on, that you can be sure about. If you are feeling upset with somebody, you won't be seeing clearly who they are or what they are doing. You'll be seeing a reflection of your own angry and violent emotions. If you face them, if you resolve them inwardly, if you go through them and come to peace, you'll be adding to peace in the world. If you act out of them, even in your thoughts, even if you don't speak, even if you don't do a physical action, even if you're in your thoughts, you're upset with the person, you hold a grudge, you judge them, you criticize them, you feel bad about them, then you're sending out negative energies and you're adding to the violence and the disease and the destruction and the hatred and the difficulties in the world. You're adding to the suffering of humanity. To bring about peace, we have to have peace within. To bring about happiness, we have to have happiness. You can't help someone else out financially if you don't have money to give. You can't help someone with a certain task that they're doing if you don't know how to do it. I mean, you could try. It's not a good idea. If someone's trying to work on the electrical wires in their house, if you know about electricity, if you're an electrician, maybe you can help them. If you don't, maybe you should keep your mouth shut. If we can't give up the resentment, if we can't give up the anger, maybe we should keep our mouths shut until the anger has passed, rather than saying angry words, rather than adding to the bigotry and hatred and violence in the world. We all complain about violence, especially when it's perpetrated against us. That's how egotistical we are. Women are upset about violence perpetrated against women. Racial minorities are upset about bigotry and violence perpetrated toward racial minorities. Hindus are upset about violence toward Hindu people. Muslims are upset about violence toward Muslims. Russian people are upset about violence toward Russians. Ukrainian people are upset about violence toward Ukrainians. They don't think the same for Russians. The Russians said that there was some attack on the border and that 5 Russian soldiers or more died. And the Ukrainian people are saying, well, this is a lie. These Russians are bad. It's just a lie. They're telling it's a bad thing. They're not saying, oh my God, that's so bad. People have died. These are our brothers and sisters. They're saying, no, this is the Russians. They're bad. And now the whole world is taking sides. Countries are saying, oh, well, who do we support? Do we support Ukraine? Do we support Russia? Maybe China will support Russia. Maybe USA will support Ukraine. They're picking sides and we're going to battle. Because it's fun to the ego to have something to hate, because it takes the attention off ourselves. We hate ourselves really only. Any time that you feel angry at someone else, you feel like you hate someone else, that you judge someone else, it's just a reflection of hatred for yourself. If you want to end in the war in the world, you've got to end this hatred for yourself. You've got to bring about peace. You've got to bring about love. Forgive everyone outside of yourself, and then you'll see very easily, very quickly, why it is that you've been hating yourself. We can't see our own inner faults or even work on them because we are projecting the negativity onto others around us. This is an act of war. This is an act of bigotry. This is an act of violence. This is a sociopathic sort of act. We are avoiding our true emotion, how we feel about ourselves. Instead, we're projecting it, anger toward others, and we act without compassion, without thinking how they feel. We say they're less than us. We justify it in some way. I see husbands and wives do it. They say, this person is a narcissist, so it's okay for me to leave them. It's okay for me to cheat on them. It's okay for me to insult them, to hurt them, to steal from them. No, it's never okay to hurt someone, to cheat someone, to lie to someone, to steal from someone. It's never okay to insult someone. We should say words to build people up. We need to be more diplomatic in our relationships. If we can't get over the anger, we need to step back and not say anything. Don't say anything to that person. Don't say anything to their friends. Don't say anything to your friends. Don't say anything that could make anyone think badly about that person. Wait until you can say things that will build them up. And then practice forgiveness. We have to have a lot of sincerity, a lot of humbleness to practice forgiveness, because once we give up the hatred toward others around us, we have to face our hatred for ourselves. And that's not easy, it's not fun. But once we face that, we can easily get over that. We practice positive affirmations. Look in the mirror, say, I love you. I forgive you, you're a good person. You may have done some less than ideal things in the past, but you were struggling. The past is gone. Now you're struggling to do better, and that makes you a very good person. And then do good deeds to make yourself feel good about yourself. If you feel you've hurt people, do things to help those same people. If it's not possible to help the same people, help people like them. Give them things needlessly. Do things for them. Compliment them. Be kind. Be nice. You'll start to feel good about yourself. You don't do it for them. They may not appreciate it. They may remember the bad things you did, and they may curse you. They may be suspicious of you. They may not receive the gifts that you give. They may spit on it and throw it on the ground. But you can remain happy because you do it for yourself. You're building yourself up. You can say, okay, well, I'm a good person. And if they do that and you feel like, oh, hey, I wanted to help them. You don't get angry. You don't criticize them. You say, oh, I must need to do more work. I feel so sad they haven't accepted. Maybe that's okay. That's better than getting angry. But ultimately, ideally, we just feel happy because, well, I'm a good person. I tried. We can say that when we do good things. We can't change the actions of 1 million people around us. We can't change the actions of governments. We can change our own actions. We can change the interactions from our own end, at least, in the home, in our friendships, in our workplace, in our neighborhood. If the neighbor is mean and causing you some trouble, fighting with you over the boundary of the fence, fighting with you about where your dog goes to the bathroom. Smile, send him some love, do nice things for him. If you go to the grocery store, buy some flowers, bring it, give it to him, and smile. And say, hi, I just saw these, I wanted to give it to you. I'm sorry my dog went to the bathroom on your lawn. Much easier, much more fun than harboring hatred. Much more fun than continuing an ongoing battle. We all have ongoing battles with people we interact with because we're not doing the inner battle. And now the world is mimicking this violence that we have in all of our minds. The collective consciousness has become very agitated, very violent in nature. And the world has become very violent with dramatic temperature changes, storms, intense natural forces, and now this pandemic, and now war. We've got to pray for peace. We've got to work for peace. It's very important, very important. But if there's battle, bring the battle within. because then we'll have peace to give to others. Then our existence will be an asset to the world. Our consciousness will calm the collective consciousness just a little bit. Our interactions with people will calm them and bless them just a little bit. Even if you don't go out from the house, if you cook for your husband, cook for your children, send them to school, chant the mantra as you cook, you'll put peaceful energy in the food. As they go out, they'll interact with others and they'll spread that peaceful energy. Because you've been kind and loving, they'll be kind and loving, more so to others that they encounter. This eases tension in the world. We can ease it in our home. We can ease it in our small sphere of influence, our job, our neighborhood, our town, our city. If you live in India, you can't necessarily affect political situations of other nations, of political situations in Russia. But you certainly can affect your own consciousness, and you can affect your interactions with your family. So let's all pray for peace and practice peace. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.